Morning, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Really breaking. It's from your connection. Can you hear me? Can you send a chat? Okay. Okay, thank you. So we had thank you guys for joining today's call. Today is going to be we're going to be doing a lot of hands on. And also we're going to look at um just basic Ansible. So using Ansible to automate a simple Cisco environment. So my lab is set up already, and I hope walk through it together. So I'll just we'll kick off at 11:10. Let's give room for additional 4 minutes for others to join. For more people to join, then we can kick off. So from last week's webinar, we talked about API. We did a lot on API. Just in case you want to, if you want me to take about 10 minutes to review what we did last week, based on your vote on the chat, I can do that and share the necessary files with you guys for the API labs. And also, we have sent out a feedback link, either by SMS or mail. Please do us a favor to fill the survey link so that we use that to serve you better. So while we wait for others to join, if you want me to go over what we did last week, want me to do that, I'll just take 10 minutes to do that, and we start our proper call by 11:20. I can take 10 minutes to do that based on your vote on the chat. Okay, I have three people already saying I should go ahead. We have about eight to 10 people on the call. So if I get 2 more, I'll do a refresher. While we wait for others to okay. Okay, thank you. So please, I'm going to paste the link on the chat. Please download this link on the chat. You'll be needing both files, both are JSON files. You'll be needing them you're going to be needing them you will need them to import the Meraki API collection, as well as the environment variables. Please, it's not a spyware, it's my personal Google Drive. I just uploaded those 2 files there. So you can as well do to download it. Okay, let me just share my screen a bit just to show you what I'm saying. So there goes the file. So guys, can you see my screen? Please send the chat if you can see my screen. Okay, thank you. So here are the 2 files. Here are the 2 files, guys. Just download it. Both are JSON files, and you would be needing them. It's just a shortcut instead of going to find them on developer.cisco.com. So I'll stop the share a bit while, okay, let me just allow the share to go on while I navigate to developer environment. So that's developer.cisco.com. We're needing this as well. I think I'll just paste the sandbox link, guys. Just hold on. While I log into my account, I'll paste the link to the sandbox so that we'll just take 10 minutes to review. Take 10 minutes to review what we did last week. Trying to sign into my account. I'm still here. Okay. Okay, I can share my screen now. Let's navigate to sandbox. Sandbox. Get started. Sandbox. Okay, guys, I'm going to paste the link to the sandbox we'll be using, and I can as well paste the API key, but I'm going to paste the sandbox so that you guys can also look at it after the call. So these are several labs you can attempt. Okay, have more people joining the call. So let's navigate down to Meraki, always on. So I'm going to open this on a new tab. Then I'm going to paste the link on the chat window. So, yeah. So that's the link to the sandbox, right? Guys, that's the link to the sandbox. You can navigate and do that yourself. I'm also going to paste the API key on chat as the API key. I'm also going to paste email to log in, and the password is I love Meraki. So I'm pasting this, guys, so that we don't waste much time. Guys, so I'm pasting all this information so that we don't waste much time. So if you have downloaded this, if you have downloaded from the link from my Google Drive, I'm going to navigate to my Postman. There it is. Okay, that's my Postman. Last week we installed Postman. I showed them how to import files, collections. I also showed them how to import environment variables. You're trying to synchronize. Okay. Okay, guys. So I noticed that I noticed maybe something would have happened. So my postman is not synchronized, and that is a good one. So I'm going to show you guys how to. It's kind of different. Something is happening to my postman, guys. Just 1 minute. Let me figure it out. I think it's trying to sync because I have that on my Mac. I have that on my other laptop. Um, access your workspace and collections. Okay, I think I have a lower version of Postman on this laptop. So how can we get this done? Uh, okay. Just a minute, guys. Let me see how to get how to do this. It's doing a fresh download. So while it's doing that, um, please we have sent. I'm going to share a survey link with you guys on the chat. Please, I'm going to share a survey link. I think it has already been shared. So please take 1 minute to fill the survey link while I sort out my postman and we do some API calls before we go into Ansible. So while I sort out my postman, guys, please do me a favor, fill the survey link, tell us how to serve you better, and we'll do some API calls. Thank you. So also don't forget to download this. Don't forget to download from my Google Drive and import the 2 files. Just go through the chat and you'll see them there. Go through the chat and you'll see the Google link. Just download those 2 files and let's do some API calls. I'll show you how to import them and edit your environment variables. This is almost done. Okay. That looks fine. Good. Okay, let's get this rolling. Please, if my audio is still fine, can you send me a chat? Let's kick off. We're almost at the top of the hour. Is my audio good? Can somebody send me a yes? You can hear me? Okay, thank you. So if you have downloaded the file, please go to import. Can you see my screen? Go to import and you upload a file. Just select the files you want to upload. And on my directory, I already have them saved. So you're actually importing the two Meraki files, right? You're going to be importing these two files. You can see that one of the files is a Postman collection, right? And the other one is your environment variables. So guys, quickly import. And after importing, you can find the environment variables at your top right. This is your environment variables. If you can see my mouse, that's where environment variables, you can find them here. You can click to edit this environment variable, right? I have a different API key here, but I'm going to edit it. So you can edit this environment variable to suit what you want. And if you notice, if you look at our URL, if you look at the resource we're trying to call, you can see that we call those environment variables using basic functions. So I'm going to go to the chat and edit my environment variable to so I'm going to copy this API key. The API key I shared on the chat. I'm going to copy this API key and edit my environment variable. So I'm going to replace where I have the xcisco-meraki-api.key. I'm going to replace it there. Right, and you notice my base URL is Meraki, the API meraki.com API version 0. That's my URL. And as time goes on, I'm going to explain, if I have the time, I'm going to explain what these things, each of these variables represent. So for now, I'm just going to update and exit. So I'm going to close each of these tabs, go to my history, I'm going to clear all so that we start afresh. So go to my collections and select the API call I want to make. So first of all, I want to get my organization, right? So I go to my organization folder, and the first API call I have there is to return my organization or get list of organizations. So I'm going to get the list first, right? Using this base URL and my API key. Prince, can you scroll up on the chat? You're going to find all the links there. Scroll up on the chat, you find the links. So guys, let's make our first API call. I'm going to send. Oh, invalid. I'm getting an invalid character. Where is that coming from? Okay, let's check. I think something is wrong. We have a problem with the header. Let's diagnose and see. Yeah, let's know where the problem is coming from. Okay, I think let's look at our API key. Let's look at our API key and see what we have done wrong. Okay, I think we entered there's an invalid character there. So I'm going to copy this API key from here. Back to my postman. I've seen the error. I've seen where the error is coming from. Let's clear this. And this should be fine now. So I'm going to close the debug. Come back and let's send. Good. So guys, we got it right. So I think there was an invalid character when I was pasting the API key. There was an invalid character here. I think maybe an extra character came in, so I had to go and copy the API key again. So guys, if you look at my screen, we have made our first API call, and you can see within that organization, we have several networks there. You can see we have about 8 to 9 of them. And if you can see, my return status code was 200, which was successful. It took me about 2.42 milliseconds to download, and that's the size of the file. So guys, this was a summary of what we did last week. We're already half an hour into our presentation today. So I'm just going to go straight to the agenda of today, and let's kick off. So if you need more, let me look at the chat. So if you need more guidance or more steps on how to get this done, or if you need more tutorials on how to get this done, please reach out to us on the chat or on the survey link, and we'll create more webinars to satisfy you and get you running within the automation space. So let's get the ball rolling for today. So today I'm going to be talking about how to use Ansible, and we're going to do just a brief intro to Ansible, and why we even need automation, why we actually need automation, where is automation going to at the moment, and what do we tend to achieve automation. So what is automation? You know, automation is using code to configure, right? 3 basic keywords we are to note here. We are to configure, we are to deploy, and manage. So this is what automation does for us, right? Using automation, we can configure, deploy, manage applications with the compute, storage, and network infrastructures and services on which they run, right? So with these 3 keywords, we can compute, we can manage compute resources, we can manage storage resources, we can manage network infrastructures. This is the part that concerns us more, network infrastructures and the services, what kind of services that run on them. We're talking of network infrastructures now, we're talking of routers, talking of switches, right? You're talking of access points, APs, you know, right, like this. You're talking of controllers. Controllers like wireless LAN controller, right? The DNA center, the DNAC. We talked about DNAC last week. And we also have APIC EM. APIC, this is for AC, those doing data, those at the data center, doing ACI, right? So these are network infrastructures, right? Then what are the services that run on them? The services like routing protocols like OSPF, right? EIGRP, even TCP/IP protocols, IP addressing, right? QoS, you can manage QoS, you can manage firewall policies. Now, to be very sincere with you, I'm a security enthusiast, and I don't like creating firewall rules. most times I don't like creating firewall rules because I'm going to tell you this, right? So creating firewall rules can be a pain in the ass, right? But I am very, very happy with automation. And what does automation do for me? Automation tells me, okay, let me just walk you through something. So I want to create a firewall rule that permits chooks to access threaten network, threaten academy, right? So if you are creating this rule manually, you have to first go through the firewall rules, which is already existing on the device. Let me say, for example, this is a firewall. So you have to go through all the rules on the firewall to make sure that there is no conflicting rule that says that chooks should be allowed to threaten network before you create it. But guess what, guys? This will take you a lot of time. This will take you a lot of time, and this is going to burn you out. Trust me. So imagine you have to go through 100 firewall rules just to create one rule. But guess what? Automation, what I can simply do is I can tell, either using Postman, Ansible, Puppet, or Chef, which we are going to still look at as automation tools. I can tell my firewall, I can run a playbook, an Ansible playbook, to tell my firewall to check all the rules within the firewall. If chooks, if any firewall rule chooks exist, print it out. If it doesn't exist, create new rule. Then I can define the rule. So guys, it's going to take you some amount of time to create this script, but trust me, once you create this script and it's successful, this script remains what we refer to as idempotent. So idempotent means that for every time you run that script, you're going to achieve a desired result. So that desired result remains the same, except you edit the parameters of this script. So imagine this is going to take me, if I'm that good, it's going to take me 15 to 20 minutes to create the script. And it has saved me how many hours? It has saved me about 5 to 6 hours. It has saved me 5 to 6 hours just creating a simple firewall rule. So for automation with Cisco infrastructure platforms, automation with Cisco infrastructure, the platform can integrate with common tools such as Ansible, which I've mentioned, Puppet, Chef, and so on, and even direct APIs, right? So with that mentioned, let me just show you, let's go back to my Postman. Let me show you, let's navigate to, you can see all the API calls that are here. Now let's look at the MX layer 3 firewall, right? So I can send a GET request, right, to list all the firewall rules that are on this device. So it's either I'm using my Puppet, Ansible to do that, or I'm even doing it via a direct API call, which is mentioned in our presentation, right? So you can also do that using a direct API access to the programmable interface of that device. Now, why do we even need to automate? Right? Speed and agility. It's going to take me less time, right? And it's going to enable the business to explore and experiment and exploit opportunities ahead of their competition. Now, I can tell you that I'm very confident that just few companies in Nigeria, right? Tech companies few companies are yet to embrace the positive side and the business angle of automation. Just very few companies, right? And I can assure you that if you build your skills starting with the Cisco DevNet, that will be very, very interesting. That will be very, very interesting. So with this, let's look at disadvantages of manual operation. So you can add to cost, right? It's also going to be time consuming. It's going to take a lot of time. It's going to be very difficult to scale, right? Especially in an enterprise environment where you have to design a large enterprise IP addressing scheme, right? You can also automate that. You can also automate that and achieve more. Let's look at why do we still need automation, right? Like I've said, you just needed to, develop a lot of tasks to make it simple for yourself, right? And the ecosystem is really encouraging that. So with the ecosystem encouraging that, it means that all the devices we have, all the devices within 2015, which automation was fully adopted by Cisco, to 2020, all those devices understand programmability, which is API. All of them have API documentations, and you can make API calls to them, right? So this helps us to save a lot of time, right? And it helps us to also make us agile in our work environment. So let's look at full stack automation, right? Automation is a key component of a functional software-defined infrastructure. Note, is a software-defined infrastructure and the distributed and dynamic application. Now, benefits, you can look at self-service, right? You can look at self-service. Self-service has to do with frameworks which enable users to position infrastructure on demand, right? So your infrastructure will be self-service, right? Self-service means let something happen on its own without human intervention. So something happens, maybe an API goes down, the automation environment can run what is called a wake-up ping or a wake-up call, and the API comes up again. So you can scale on demand. You can automate automated problem mitigation. So it minimizes the effects of issues, and self-heal and monitor events, right? So these are why you need, full stack automation and the advantages that come with it. So a case for automation. The cloud environment, you have self-services, you have close specification consistency and repeatability, right? Idempotency, remember I talked about it. You have a cloud environment and you want to scale up. Maybe you are doing auto scale or something in AWS or Azure or one of these cloud providers. You can develop a Python script, a bash script that runs on its own. Okay. And just to save time, sorry, you have a question? Someone has a question? I can hear. Please, if you have a question, guys, any question, you can paste it on the chat. I will attend to it. Please post your questions on the chat. As we go on, I will attend to it. So this is a bit complex. I'm just going to move straight to now I'm just going to move straight to DevOps and SER. Now, I want to say something just briefly before we go into talking about these two topics. Now, these are the new skills that are required in the next 10 years. Or let me just reduce it. Let me say in the next 5 years. So these are hot selling skills right now. DevOps and site reliability engineers. So let's look at what they do. Let's look at what they actually are. So DevOps evolved and continue to evolve in many places, right? And as time goes on, a lot of modifications and a lot of contributions have been made towards developing DevOps. And what do they do? What do these DevOps guys do? You guys say, oh, I'm a DevOps guy. What do they actually do? First thing they do is that they focus on automation. They just believe any DevOps guy you meet today will just believe that everything can be automated. Everything. He just believes that everything can be automated. The idea that failure is normal. So with failure being normal, they can tell you that they can develop something that is called a self-healing process. And that self-healing process is now where they develop what? Scripts. Scripts either using Bash or Python to achieve their aim, right? Now, they also concentrate on availability. This is a very key component of DevOps, availability. What if something happens instantly as a subset of failure, right? Either failure by maybe manual failure or service failure or protocol failure. There should be something that should self-heal it. So that is where DevOps guys come in. And DevOps, sorry guys, DevOps is not a buzzword. It's just automation, making things work on their own. Right? So there are two core principles, continuing with the core principles of DevOps, there are two levels they must meet, or there are, let's say three levels they must meet, which is okay. So we have a contribution from the chat. The scripts are for handling expectations. Yes, as well. Let me see. Yeah, are the scripts are for handling expectations. Exactly. So you run these scripts. Anyway, I'm going to take that question later when I'm done with explaining this so that you get what I'm saying very well. So the two things, the three core principles again of DevOps is, they're going to look at service level objects, right? See service level objects that are defined in terms of real metrics called service level indicators. So these service level objects, right, things are defined. There are things that you must meet as a DevOps guy. These are objectives that you must achieve. And these objectives are now called service level indications, right? So with this, you can map out the things you have automated. You can also a kind of guide yourself towards delivering a desired component to the business, right? So SLIs map to practical reality of delivering a service to a customer, So with those objectives, you can now do your SLIs and deliver service to customers. Now, as business develop rapidly, right, by moving the obligation to seek perfection, right? So with these two objectives, you can now perfect, what the customer wants and deliver on the fly. So I think I have two questions on the chat. Let me look at the chat. I think, okay, thank you guys. Joseph and Femi, please keep the chat busy, and I'll throw in more light when I'm almost done with my presentation. So in summary for these two guys, so DevOps and site reliability engineers are co-evolving with technologies like virtualization, right? You start looking at virtualization, you start looking at containerization, you start looking at Docker, virtualization, you have VMware, and other vendors as well. This is my most preferred vendor, that's why I mentioned it. So enabling a unified approach and unified tool set to support coordinated application and infrastructure engineering. So in summary for DevOps and SRCs, they are referred to as reliability engineers, right? So the cloud guys and software guys, we call them the DevOps guys. So DevOps for networks are now referred to as site reliability engineers. So maybe during your interviews or your future interviews to come, and you are applying for a role and you see SRE, guys, just make sure you know how to use, you read Python scripts, you know how to use APIs, and you can use what we call SDKs, software development kits, right? You can use SDKs to write scripts and make them faster for you to use. So introduction to basic automation scripting. Powerful tools like Ansible, Puppet, Chef bring easy to use, predictability, discipline, and the ability to work at scale to DevOps work. So these three tools you see here, Ansible, Puppet, Chef, and a little bit of API, right? Make our work very easy, right? So every automation tool have functions that execute basic commands and scripts on targets to return results. So devices, like I said, network infrastructure and they refer to as targets. So you target those scripts to them, you run them, and they return a desired result. So for you to scale very well within this space, basic automation and scripting skills are very, very important, right? So it means you have to now learn how to use Linux, and you know some basic of Python. And we have all those courses within the Threaten Academy. You can reach out to us if you want to enroll, and we'll be very, very happy to help you scale. So Bash scripting, Bash is a Unix shell, most of us know, and it's by default on most Linux distributions like Mac OS, right? And Bash can be used to script access to AWS CLI. You can see AWS CLI, and then you can also build more sophisticated libraries such as JSON files to automate scripts, to automate your environment. Then if you want to now go more deep, you can now use, remember I mentioned SDKs. So you can use development SDKs to automate your environment as well and build script faster. So what SDK does is that once you have your environment set up, you can import those SDKs. You can import those to your environment variable or into your virtual environment, so to say. Import it into your virtual environment, and you can develop scripts faster. Let me show you like an example of my and the things I've been able to do. Let me open folder. Let me open one of my from this folder. So I hope you can see my screen. You can see my screen. So if you look at my Python folder, let me open the Docker file. Now let me go to networking, and let me open SD1. So if you look at this file, this is a simple file written in Python, and it has some request imported, which is import request and JSON. So if you want to write a sophisticated, this is not too sophisticated anyway, but it's a simple script. So if you want to write something like this, and you want to leverage on SDKs, you must import those SDKs into your environment, into your virtual environment, and get them running. So with that, you don't need to write everything afresh. As you type, those SDKs will be called up automatically and do your stuff. So let's quickly run through automation tools. So automation tools, like I've been screaming all my presentations, the one I use mostly is Ansible, but there's Puppet and Chef, which you can always and there are also options for you to install them on a local machine, or you install them on a distributed environment, like on multiple servers, right? You must have access to a Linux-based workstation, which is maybe Ubuntu, or if you have a Mac OS, you can set them up and they're good to go, right? So, okay, Jenkins, yeah, Jenkins is good as well, but not for this presentation. I just want to keep it very simple. Like, I just want to keep it very simple, right? But within our DevNet associates, which will be kicking off in a couple of weeks' time, we'll be doing something with Jenkins. Ansible cannot run on Windows. It is Unix-based. It's a Unix-like environment, right? I've not seen it run on Windows. I can't say, but I've not seen it run on Windows. So, what do automation tools do for us, right? Simplify and standardize our environment, our scripts, right? It also accelerates development with out-of-the-box features, right? Out-of-the-box features, which means you can think about some features and add them on your own, right? You can also facilitate security concerns, perform discovery, and manage inventory. So within your environment, you can see everything happening. You can also handle scale, right? And do other amazing stuff. Now, let's look at idempotent, something where you see something idempotent, which I've been mentioning all this while. So an idempotent software produces the same desirable result each time that it is run. So this is a very important term within the automation space. Very important term within the automation space. And for every script you develop and you want to standardize it, you have to use version control, which is Git. But after doing that, it now means that anybody that wants to work on that script has to understand that this script is idempotent and has to make a copy, right? Has to make a copy so that when the original file, you can still make reference to the original file if you have destroyed or you have played a lot with this file and you can't return it to the original copy. You can always make reference back to the original copy. Once a script becomes idempotent, it means that it is now stable. You run it, for every time you run it, it returns it. For anybody that wants to work on it has to make sure it is tracked, right? So procedural code can achieve idempotency. Infrastructure management development and orchestration tools have adopted method with screen the creative. The creative is a static model and it is used by middleware. Can you guys still hear me? It's used by middleware that incorporates development specific details. Let me make sure my audio is good. Sorry about that. Specific details examine persistent circumstances and bring real infrastructure into alignment with model and usual least time consuming part. So all these concepts I've talked about and just gone through briefly, makes us understand that our environment, once a script becomes idempotent, it adds value to our infrastructure in terms of management, deployment, and orchestration, right? And you can as well go ahead and start making declarative scripts or declarative environment. So critical concepts we need to take note. We have provisioning. Provisioning means you are now creating. Let me say you're creating something. Refers to obtaining maybe compute storage and network infrastructure, enabling communications, putting into service, and making it ready for use, right? You're provisioning. It's just like setting up an access point or configuring a router, you're provisioning it. So configuration means you're now installing desired applications, right? Desired services, the routing protocols, the POS, the firewall policies. The deployment means integrating. You are now allowing other services to connect to that device, to connect to the infrastructure. And while orchestration means, right, you are now managing the workload, life cycle of that environment. Network infrastructure, you're now talking of CPU utilization, interface utilization, and the rest of memory utilization, and so on. Now we have two methods of automation, two states, so not methods, two states. So we have stateless and not stateless. So we are talking of not stateless. It talks of the app that serves important information in files or in a database or on a local file. So not stateless means that it has like a storage, a DB where it stores those informations, and it receives. Sorry about that. I think I missed something. So not stateless means that it doesn't store anything, right? Doesn't store. It just has a local file. It just has a local file, just a simple DB where it stores those files, right? And stateless is an app that is persistent and it stores it in a separate database, but it provides a service that requires no memory of a state between deviations. So if you look at this, if you look at my simple analogy here, we'll see how these clients communicate with the server environment on a stateless and a stateful level. So you see on just an independent there, you can see that this has no state and nothing to store, right? Then on a call that requires a response or a state means that there's a database somewhere or a file that it stores this desired state and it returns it, right? And this other one here, which requires user state, means the state is stored on the server, right? That state, maybe a little bit of information of that request is stored and respond accordingly. We have talked about these automation tools. So let's focus more on Ansible. Ansible is available as open source, which everybody can use it. And so there is a version of Ansible called Ansible Tower, which is from Red Hat. And the Ansible Tower is the enterprise version, where you have additional features and the rest to do some amazing stuff. Now, how does Ansible operate? Right? How does Ansible operate? So Ansible node runs on any Linux machine, right? Running Python 2 or 3. right? Now, control nodes over SSH, right? So SSH must be enabled on these devices for them to communicate. And those devices must understand REST API. So they must have a REST interface, right? They must understand REST APIs to return information to your Ansible workstation. Last week, we talked about REST APIs while I was presenting on how to use APIs. We talked about REST APIs. So they must plugins enable Ansible to get facts from and perform operations on infrastructure that can't run local Python, right? So we can also use plugins, right, to communicate to devices that don't understand Python or run local Python as well. So you can see here on this other side, I have physical server, no agent required. I just need SSH, right? On these devices as well. These are physical or virtual infrastructures, right? My router, switches, and the rest. I can also use SSH. On this other side, you can see HTTPS and REST. I can also use them to communicate. So you installing Ansible, and Ansible files are always YAML files. They're always YAML files, and you can use playbooks. So our tags are defined into playbooks and roles just to achieve a desired result or a desired state. So you can, let me show you where you can get a lot of Ansible files. So you come to the sandbox. Let me show you if you want to one of our Ansible labs. Let me scroll up. It should be somewhere. Yeah. Okay, you can as well search for let me show you CML. So you could also use you can use this this lab from Cisco, the CML. You can use this to build an Ansible environment. So if you reserve this, you can log into it, maybe using Cisco AnyConnect, and you will have a Linux server there, an Ubuntu server there to install and build an Ansible environment, right? So this is free. You can leverage on it to build an Ansible lab. So while doing that, you would be able to, you'll be guided on how to run Ansible, install Ansible, enable Ansible, build a host file, and the rest. So building an Ansible project, so make a directory, you seed into the directory, you create these files. You have your inventory files, you have your site.yml, you have your rows, and you create, create all these files, and create a target, So your target can be the IP address of your router or a web server or a server you want to configure. So you can also create multiple inventory files. So by doing this, you have separated two inventory files. You can see we have web server inventory. We also have DB server inventory. And so creating a playbook. So you can see these are the commands to create a playbook, right? So notice every YAML file starts with a 3- at the top. And very, very important, you must maintain a consistent indentation, right? So if your file is not properly indented, your script will not run, right? So This is an example here also of a continuation of creating the Ansible playbook, right? All these lab files I'm displaying now will be available on the sandbox when you reserve. So to do that, if you want to, I can quickly, let me just paste this on the chat window. It's on the chat window. In 5 minutes more, I'm going to be showing us just a brief lab on Ansible. And so to run your playbook, you Ansible playbook -I, the name of names of the inventory file, and uname is the pseudo user. Then the site.yml is the file that governs your environment, right? And the desired result is going to look like this. Right? So at the end of the day, the desired result will look like this. So it has contacted this target 190.160.1.30. It has made 2 changes, right? It has made 2 changes: unreachable 0, failed 0, skipped 0, and so on. Right? So I don't know if you have any brief questions for me before I just show you the lab quickly. So I have a question from Femi. Femi, are you still on the call?
Yes, I am, yeah.
So your question is saying, question again. The scripts are for expectations. Yeah, so you can build scripts to handle your expectations. Maybe you want to know an IP address, or you want to automate an environment, an entire environment. It depends on what you achieve, right? For me, automation makes my work easy. So I tend to automate the lazy things I want to do.
Exactly, yeah.
The lazy things I don't like doing. For example, I just mentioned one, which is creating firewall rules and making them consistent. They are very, very tiresome for me, because on a very, very large environment, if it's a firewall that has 30 scripts, I can go over the 30 scripts in 20 or 25 minutes, right? Or 15 minutes there to stay. But if you're an enterprise engineer or a consultant and you have to go over 120 scripts just to create one script, come on, it's going to save me a lot of time. So I tend to automate the things I don't like, I don't love doing. I just pasted the link to the sandbox. So you can go there, look at it, observe it, install Ansible, create an Ansible environment, and all that. So guys, please do us well and fill the survey link. Just pasted the survey link right now. So do us well, fill the survey, tell us how we can serve you better, the things you want to see us doing more. And if you want more of API labs and Ansible labs, please let us know. We'll bring up we'll come up with more webinars. So Jenkins, yeah, for Emeka said something on Jenkins. So for Jenkins is a bit advanced for this presentation now, but we have Jenkins Jenkins is a good tool as well. Jenkins is a very lovely tool as well for the automation and creating your scripts and all that. So you can, we have this within our DevNet Associate course. So you can look up our website. Let me quickly paste the link to our website. Okay, that is our DevNet Associate course right here. Okay, and that's me. So you can join me in a few weeks more. In a few weeks time, we're going to be having our first DevNet associate class within Nigeria, right? So you can as well join us and be part of the DevNet 2020. I don't think most of you have heard about it. Let me take you there. Class. Okay, let's Google it, DevNet class of 2020, and you can read why you need to join that class. So you know CCIE was introduced in 1993, and the first set of guys to write the CCIE at that time were globally recognized, right? They're globally recognized. So read about why you need to join the DevNet class of 2020. I'm going to post it for you. Read about why you need to join the DevNet of 2020. Also read on how automation can, also read from the developer advocate guys within the developer.cisco.com, how they have used automation to achieve more within the environment, right? So with enough of that said, let me take you straight to my lab. So first of all, let me introduce this lab. So this is a custom lab this is a custom lab we use for our DevNet environment. This is referred to as a DevSAC VM. You can only have access to this if you enroll for our course. You can only have access to this if you enroll for our course. And why do you need to enroll for our course? We already have all the labs available for you to do, from Ansible to coding basics to Jenkins. Emeka, you were asking about Jenkins. Emeka, are you still on the call? Can I unmute you?
Yes, I'm on the call.
Exactly. So you were talking about Jenkins. So you can see some Jenkins labs here. You can build some sample apps and all that. Then you have some security labs within, for those of you within the security space. This is my playground. Then for WebEx teams, you have a lot to do when you join our DevNet associate class coming soon. Right. Somebody was raising his hand. You wanted to say something? Yes, you can unmute and say something, please. You can unmute yourself, talk. Can you unmute? You wanted to say something? Okay, I'll just continue. So these are environment, and I already have Ansible installed.
Sorry, quick question, please.
Okay, yes, I can hear you.
So my question is, does DevNet also have pre-requirements, kind of like, I can't do CCNP without CCNA, CCIE without, the progression, the Cisco progression, or
okay,
you can just jump straight into DevNet?
Okay, thank you for that very brilliant question. So I didn't actually give you guys the prerequisite. A very good prerequisite for coming into DevNet or starting DevNet Associate is, basic understanding of Linux, basic understanding of networking, how to use IP addresses, because we have an entire chapter devoted to introduction to networks within the DevNet Associate course, right? So if you don't know networking from anywhere, if you are just a newbie, we have an entire chapter dedicated to that, right?
Okay.
And for introduction to Python, coding basics, we have a chapter also dedicated to that as well. So let me just show you briefly from the lab side of it. So you can see we have a lab referred to as coding basics here, right? So you have a lot of things to actually get you rolling. Get started. So I think we have come a long way today, and I want to keep it very simple. So I'm going to appeal to my superiors to allow me to grant me an additional week, which is next week. So let's have another webinar next week. We're going to send out the invites. You're going to get the invites to register. So I'm going to plead that we have an entire webinar just for labs, right? Because if you look at the time now, I don't want this webinar to exceed I don't want it to exceed an hour. It has already exceeded an hour. So I'm going to plead with my superiors to grant me next week so that we can have the entire 1 hour to just APIs and Ansible automation, right? To just entire labs. So thank you guys. Thank you everyone that joined. You can reach me on LinkedIn. Just hold on, let me share my link to my LinkedIn. You can reach me on LinkedIn. You can reach me also via my email address, or just drop it on the chat. You can reach me via my email, and you can also connect with me on LinkedIn. I will be very, very happy to lend a helping hand and get you all started. So I hope to see you guys next week. I hope to see you guys next week for an entire lab session. So next week, no presentation, just lab, right? So I want to keep it very, very simple this week so that we don't exceed our desired time. So thank you all for joining. I'll just give in I'll give in 2 minutes for more questions. Someone, you're raising your hand. Ikomi, can you unmute yourself? Can you unmute yourself? You're raising your hand. Can you unmute yourself? Or can you type your question on the link? Sorry, type your question on the chat. If you must, just type your question on the chat.
Hello.
Yes, hello? Can hear you.
Hi, Chick. Hi, Bill.
Yeah, your internet is crappy. Can you see me?
Yeah, I can see you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. Thank you for your time. Thank you for all this you are doing for Nigeria. And you should know we are not all Nigerians, but we are following you, and we are here to support you. But what I would like you to do is to do more theory, and to do less theory, and I prefer more labs. As
Okay.
network engineers, Linux admin, all those kind of profiles. I think we know where we can get more information about things. But for me, what I can see, what network engineer need today is to see someone demonstrating things and get it done.
Okay.
Exactly. That's what I'm sure. That's what most of the guys want, because theory,
Okay.
we can get all those things from anywhere, and
Okay.
people have PDF, people have Google, all those kind of CBTs, etc. But if you can make yourself available, like preparing, concise and precise labs to demonstrate things, key concept of like automation tools, any type of tools like Puppet, Chef, Ansible, all those kind of things. You
Okay.
demonstrate some key concept of things, and
Okay.
people see you doing it and it's working. Trust me,
Okay.
you will
Okay.
see many people for your webinar.
Thank you so much. So let me say something. Let me say
Yeah.
something. So last
Right.
week, did you join my webinar last week?
Oh, actually, I was. Excuse me to say, I was in funeral. I wasn't having. I couldn't attend. Actually.
Okay, so last week we had a very explosive webinar. We had less of presentation and we worked with APIs and it was awesome. But for
Right.
this week, I just realized that Ansible is a very, if someone doesn't understand automation and you just introduce Ansible to the person, it's going to look very, very strange. So what I decided to do within the call was to do the presentation this week. I just made that decision within the call because I looked at my time and I was almost consuming my 1 hour, right? So what I decided to do was do the presentation for this week and plead for an additional 1 week to have a very nice Ansible lab.
All right. I
So
think
that
I
is
think you've done well, because starting something like this with presentation, with a little bit of talk, presentation, explaining the key concept, you've done well. I align with you. That's wonderful. Yeah.
thank
Before
you
you enter labs, etc. Yeah, you've done well. You
exactly.
start where you're supposed to start. Good.
Exactly. Thank you so much. Thank you
Yeah.
for joining. We appreciate where you're joining from. Please, where are you joining from?
I'll tell you on LinkedIn. We are friends, but you don't know who's talking.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate, guys. Thank you.
All right.
Someone
All right.
wanted to say something before we quickly go. Someone wanted to say something.
It's me. I'm new here. I just got the text message because I remember registering for this class on IG, and I just got a text message with the address for my meeting up in class. So I just came online and I saw that I've missed something. So I'm just trying to let you know that I'm new here and I'm new to this whole programming stuff.
Okay. So don't worry. Just try to follow up. Try to follow up some of our webinar series, and also try to join. Follow our previous webinar series on YouTube. You have all the links on YouTube, and just go to YouTube and search for Threaten Academy. Follow our links and watch some of our previous webinars and get you started. Right? So guys, any other interaction before I go?
Hello? Okay. Just to kind of ask another question. More or less, I'm kind of like a security person, cybersecurity, I guess. So, and my question really is, I'm just kind of just interested in DevOps. Probably maybe later DevSecOps comes in or thereabout. But I'm just kind of looking like I'm looking for a crash course in DevOps, not like fully delve into DevOps like a full-time thing. Security, you have to know
Thank
a
you.
bit of networking, no software, no this one, no that one. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So you reach out to us. We have something for you. Just reach out to us.
Okay.
We have something for
Okay.
you.
I think I
Yeah.
can do that. All right then.
Yeah.
I think we're connected on LinkedIn already. So.
Yes,
All
please. So
right.
please just reach out. We have something for you. So
Okay then.
Sadiq,
Thank
thank you for joining. I appreciate you all. Please don't forget, fill the survey link, and please fill the survey link and make sure you keep up our space, as more is going to be coming to you next week. So let me show you a sneak peek of what is coming to you next week. Trust me, guys, I have my lab already set up, but it's going to be a lot for us to consume this week. Trust me, it's going to be a lot to consume this week. So I'll just open my VS Code and just show you what is coming your way next week. So this is what is coming your way next week. You can see, if you look at my Ansible environment, I have my host file. My host file already says, this is my host file, right? And where is this host? So let me show you this host. This host is Okay, let me just divide my screen into two. So this host is somewhere. I have this host here, which is my CSR 1000. It's a Cisco router. Let me bring up both of them. I'll just end this guy. Okay. So guys, this is it. So this is what's coming your way next week. So this is what's coming your way next week. And let me just show you the IP address on my Cisco environment. So show IP interface brief. So you can see this IP. Got the IP address on this router on my CSR 1000, and the IP address on my host file doesn't actually match. So I can edit this just to fill in my host file. That's all. This will be done next week. We'll do them together. And just to verify that I have connectivity to my router, I can ping that device, I can ping that router, and you can see that both devices are communicating, right? Both environments are communicating. So it means that I can send I can run my playbook and it's going to respond. So guys, I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Thank you so much for joining. Right? Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate you all, and see you next week.